What's up, Avivan with the CineSummit here, and we are ready for another quick little tutorial on how I managed to survive a 16-hour day with 26 interviews in one day. It was wild. In the last video, we covered what I did indoors and all that had to go with that. We focused on the lighting and the way I managed all the light with big windows. Now we're going to go to the outdoor part, which again was basically controlling the sun. Same thing, but now I have to work with the sun, how to bounce it, how to diffuse it, how to do all that stuff. So let's jump in and check out what I did. Okay, so let's check out this image first of all. This is basically the scene that we have outdoors. I took the shot kind of wide so you can kind of see the space. You can see the foreground and the background. Obviously you can see here's where the subject is sitting, but I want to call your attention to this background and the light on the floor. Basically we're in an area where the sun is about to go, or it's starting to slowly go behind a building, and then all this sun that's on the floor and in the background is going to basically disappear, right? It's going to dip underneath the building, and that's going to be a big help. But it was about 2 hours away from that, maybe an hour, something like that, and we're on a tight schedule. We got to do interview after interview. So my biggest challenge was finding a background that was not blown out, because there's no way I was going to be able to deal with that. Just kind of similar to what I had to deal with the indoors. So I was trying to find an area where it was not blown out. This whole area here was in shade and it was pretty much going to stay that way. And then this was changing constantly. And another challenge was that there's these trees above us, and I'll show you a shot of that. Here's this tree. This is now looking the other way, right? There's that building that I'm talking about, and the sun is basically right above it, and it's slowly starting to dip below. But it's getting through these trees, which is what's giving us the shade that we're in right now. The problem is that it's creeping through every once in a while, as you can see here. And when I was about to shoot this gentleman, for example, he was basically in shade, and all of a sudden I got a little, some light on his head kind of coming through. It was a mess. So I had to, maybe I have a shot of this. I had to put up like a, basically, oh, there it is. You can see right here this little, this flag to cut that off. What's interesting enough is that right before we were actually going to shoot him, by the time I set that all up, the sun had changed again. I mean, it's literally changing every 5, 10, 15 minutes to where I didn't need it. So that was a nice little, a bone that we were throwing. I was able to just get rid of it altogether, and I didn't need it. And as you can see, what I'm doing here is basically, let's go to an actual shot of this guy, and we can analyze it. Here it is. So here's the background I was able to get. I really liked it. As you can see from the, what I wanted to do here is I wanted to stay wide. I wanted to kind of feel like we were outdoors. I really love this bench and all the texture, the green and the wood and everything. The key to it was for it to feel natural was not to shoot straight on the bench. So going back to the shot, look at this bench. Look at how I placed it. Hopefully you understand that this is not how the bench was. So that's part of the game that we're doing here as filmmakers. We're twisting reality. I mean, the bench is completely in a funky angle compared to the way it was. I believe it was just straight on somewhere over here by this tree. I moved it over there, and I tilted it sideways, so that would give us again that depth, those lines as the bench is kind of getting farther and farther away from us, as opposed to just being flat on with the camera. So that was trick number one that I did there. I really like this background. I had enough depth of field here. I was on a 70 to 200, mainly because I wanted to throw out the background out of focus. I mean, look at how beautiful these flowers and everything are bouqueting for us. What I didn't like was this floor. Nothing I could do about it. It wasn't too bad. It's a small little section. I knew that was going to change throughout the day as well. And the main thing what I was doing is I was bringing down the exposures, just like on the indoors, bringing down the exposure so this wasn't too wild, too hot, and then popping him up. And as you can see in this shot, that's what I brought my Reefa out here, and it worked a charm. I wasn't sure if it was going to be powerful enough, but it was, and I was playing with those distances of it in order to get just enough punch, so we were good to go there. For this one, this was the first setup outside, so just like on the indoors one, continuously I was adjusting all the time. Every interview I was coming up with something a little bit better there, how I could tweak. So once I was happy, we were rolling, and then I would go ahead and just keep on moving. You'll notice this big diffusion here. It's a diffusion, right? Yeah, it's not a bounce. It actually, it's like a 1 1/4 stop or something like that. I think it's 3 feet by 3 feet. No, maybe even more. 4 feet by 4 feet. It's pretty big. Maybe 5. Maybe, I don't know. It's big. It's a big old sucker. I had it up like I normally do. Is I kind of build a lot of my gear. I build a lot of the pieces. I bring it out, and then I see what I want, because you know, you never know exactly what you're going to need and where you're going to place things. And then I might have had him there and then saw the background, not liked him, and then moved him like, you know, 6 feet off to the right, or just completely changed the whole set 180 degrees. And then I might have needed this thing above him. Who knows what? So I like to have things up and ready, and then I start to play, as opposed to every time I need something, start to build it, because that could really cost you time. So you build everything real fast. This stuff was actually already built on the indoor when we were shooting indoors, so I just brought it out here. Here's the black. I'm talking fast because I really want to get a lot of information in a short amount of time. But you see here the 70 to 200. That's where I was on. I was probably around the 100 millimeter range. The downside of this is that I'm very far, and I can't have the interviewer too close because then she gets in the shot. I'm trying to get her as close as possible. That is a downside, but because this wasn't going to be like a real intimate conversation where she was really like pulling on her heartstrings, these are short, these are quick, like 10-15 minute maximum interviews, and they're more kind of just, they already know what they want them to say. So you know, she could have even been out of the shot altogether. She could have been way back here, which sometimes she was. So I was okay with that. And this is the Blackmagic Ursa Mini that I've been using lately. I'm very, very happy with that. Let's move on to some other images and discuss what was going on here. Again, this was, you already talked about that. That's where the sun was going. Now this is again same guy. We're now behind him, so you can see the building again. You can see how the sun is starting to move over to that side. Things are changing constantly, and that's the key again. There's that hot spot. So let's move on to another background. This is okay. So here we are. Here's where I'm starting to like really start to finesse the shot even more and more. You can see I brought out a silver reflector for this gentleman because I felt like I wasn't getting enough pop. So here we got a little catch light in the eye. Everything is very even. I wanted just a little bit more of glow happening in his face. Let's see if we were able to accomplish that. I believe so. I believe this has a little bit more punch in the face. Maybe hard to say. Are they looking in the same direction? Yes, they are. One thing that's for sure, I can see that I'm getting a little bit more contrast from right to left. That's another thing that I believe I added as we were going. I was able to bring out some a flag to again take out some light on that side, so it wouldn't be so even. So going back to the behind the scenes, I believe this flag I ended up bringing it to the side, but there's that little reflector just right next to him underneath, and it popped nice light on him. And with these reflectors, one thing that you should know is that just like everything I've been saying up to now, there's no rule and there's no like science, and there's no okay. You have to put it there and start adjusting and just playing with it, up, down, little angle, changing it 25 degrees, 30 degrees, until you see. Just look at his face. Look at and when he's sitting in position, look at the face and start playing with the angle until you say, "Oh, there it is. I saw a little something happen there," and that's how you get it. That's how you get it. So don't think that if you put it there and you didn't see anything happen, that you're doing something wrong. There's nobody on earth, you know, only God can put it there and nail it. So it's a matter of playing around. Okay, moving on. Just another kind of closer up shot. Like I said in the last interview, this was my go-to instrument. What is this thing called again? The false color. Every pixel here is it has a certain color on the monitor to tell me how hot it is, and this is the key piece of the key element and how I was able to expose. This is that ground that we were talking about in earlier here in this shot. Here you see that hot spot back there. That's what I'm seeing in this shot here. In this histogram, that's that hotter spot there. Pink means that it's a good you know, good skin tones, whatever percentages that is. It's a good skin tone. So here we're getting a little bit hot on the ground, and I'm constantly having my eye inside the. Can I see it here? Well, on the other side of this is the viewfinder, and I'm looking in there so that I can really and I'm just turning on and off this. False color look. I'm turning it on and off, looking at how it looks just to my eye regular, and then turning that back on, and then I'm playing with the exposures, and then looking at it again, and I'm always trying to make sure he's exposed well. I'm making sure that he's exposed well, and that the background is under. So most of this is under, so I'm happy about that. Most of this is under. The white shirt, I kind of got lucky that it's a bit in the gray. It looks, I think that's great, yeah. So that's a good thing, because I'm always worried with white shirts like I'm wearing right now, that it would be too bright because it just sucks up all the light. So moving on, here's another guy. Now we turned. If you see, the light is now on the other side. That's what I constantly was doing all day, was turning this from one side to the other. So let's look at his results. Very happy with this one. Yeah, we moved him to the other side. I'm still at about 100 million. Look at that background. Aren't we happy now? That background is nice. It's a little bit under what his exposure is, I'm pretty sure. And it's definitely not overexposed. No more, that hot spot on the ground was gone. And I knew that was going to happen, so it was just a waiting game for me. I'm punching him now with the light on coming from the right, and I'm not so happy with the contrast. You know, maybe if I did a little bit more color correction, then this side I can get a little bit more underexposed. But it still is working because it's kind of like a beauty shot. You know, this guy looks good. He's got, you know, beautiful eyes, and we're outdoors, so it kind of is justified. You know, we're outdoors. Everything is kind of lit. But I still would like to get a little bit more of that contrast on that side. Now, let's see if we can find a behind-the-scenes shot for that. I believe I had. Here it is for him. Yeah, I had the flag there. Now, if I had to do it again, I would just bring it in much closer. And again, because of speed and whatnot, you just got to take it. Yeah, you know, I would have just brought it in much closer, as much as the camera would have allowed me. There is definitely a flag there, as you can see, but it's just not doing as much as I would have liked for it to have done. So the main takeaway so far is you're now dealing with the sun. Same thing as indoors, and now you got to control the sun. I brought in some, you know, a light here to help me punch, and it's amazing that this 1K was able to help me outdoors. I was actually quite surprised with that, because usually I'm bouncing light. That's what I'm doing. I'm usually using like a mirror or something and bouncing light back into them through some sort of diffusion. But I knew here was going to be a problem because of all the trees. It was going to be very hard for me to get direct light into some sort of source and bounce, so that's why I brought this guy out here. And there was some long extension cords going to the building next door to get us power. Always remember that. You need power for these guys, so make sure you have some sort of power source. And again, I'm just playing with the angle here, and then using this to give me for some negative fill. That's it in a nutshell. Now we started getting into night, so this got really interesting. The Rifa went down on me. We lost it. What can I do? We lost it. I think I made a bad move with it, and it burned the bulb or whatnot. And maybe it was a blessing in disguise because it forced me to go to my LEDs. And now we're it's a new setup altogether. We were back here before. Now we're over here. The sun is basically out of the shot completely now. Now it's just, you know, now we're just getting ambience, and it's completely not overblowing anything. And I'm using this as my background. Let's see if I can see a couple shots here. Before we go into that night, let's just look through some of these. Here are some of the results. I was quite happy with this. You know, these kids were so cute that I really punched in. I believe I'm a little tighter with them. You can see from the background, you're not seeing too much of the background, where here you're seeing a lot more of the background. I punched in. I was probably way past 100 because they were too darn cute. I had to get in on them and see them. And this kid was adorable. So now we're just, the background just getting just a blur. Although I would have loved to have kept, you know, these flowers that are more noticeable in the shot, whereas here not as noticeable. But still, it's all about him. So I got in on him, and I'm happy with that. Now I'm back to white again. And everything is the same thing, but all I'm doing is changing with them from them being screen left to screen right, and that's how I was making adjustments to give the client that different kind of look. Between that and the lenses, it was enough of a difference so that from interview to interview they would have something to work with. Plus it's wide, and they were happy with that because that was going to let them punch in if they ever needed to you know, to do a cut or something like that. Yeah, same thing here, and a couple setups were pretty much the same. And yeah, these are all the same exact concept with the light coming in from over there. And now we're getting into night. This was the first one at night, and this was neither here nor there. This is the one that I'm very unhappy with because there wasn't enough. It's not night yet, and it's not daytime yet, right? So I could have just bumped up the exposure, and then everything would have kind of been the same. So okay, I think I was a little underexposed here, and then I had to bump things up. Not so good, but I'm really waiting for that background to start glowing like this. So it got dark, and now these lights up on the top are starting to show up. I still could have used a little bit more time for it to really pop out as it gets darker back there, but that's what it was. Still not the most happy with this. This was shot with this kind of a with this setup right here. Two lights going into that big frame, which again, see, I had it out and ready. and that just turned those two little LEDs into one big source. The reason I have this black flag here, nice little tip for those who don't know, sometimes when you light, it'll get, the face will be exposed well, but the shirt or any kind of article of clothing is going to just look funky. It'll overexpose the shirt. Not overexpose it, but it'll be exposed too bright to where it's unnatural. So you got to whip out a flag and try to cut off the light going on the shirt so it just gets the face. And maybe a black flag isn't necessary. Maybe you want like a silk or something that'll just reduce the light as opposed to completely cutting it off. That's a nice little trick that I learned from a gaffer. And that's a setup for here. I really wasn't happy with the 2 or 3 night shots that I got, because again, it was neither here nor there, and as you see up above, these funky orange lights started coming on, and it was just, that's it. I wasn't in control anymore, and that's the worst case scenario. If I had a little bit more time to reshuffle all this, I would have moved the subjects into an area where these lights are not right above, so that I'm not getting, you see the ground, I was all orangey and these weird funky lights. So I've lost my control over the lighting, and that's not good. So if I had to do this again without moving, first solution would have been to find another spot somewhere here where there's not orange lights right above like that. That was horrible. Second solution, if I didn't have time, is that I would have put onto this white fabric here, I have a black version of that, turn this into a completely black, and simply put it above her head. Put that right above to block any light coming from above of this orange, and then use like, some soft, I have like soft boxes for these lights, so that I still could have made turn these into a soft source. I had another solution for that. So that's how I would have done it going back. So what can you do? You got to deal with what you have. So this was the shot that I'm really disappointed in right here, where it wasn't quite daytime. This is where it was getting nighttime, getting a little bit better. And then here's where it really hit nighttime. You can see the background. Look at the stairs here, where this is still getting that ambient light from the day. This is where it was gone. Now we're cooking. If I had to, again, being nitpicky, I feel it's a little bit unnatural. You kind of know there's a light lighting him. I never want you to feel like there's a light lighting him. I want you to feel like it's there's a light in this space, and we just happen to sit him in front of that light. And here it looks like somebody turned on a light on him. So I would have liked it to be a little bit softer. Maybe I just had to turn it down a bit. I'm not sure. I would have to play with it a little bit to get that more of a natural look. So again, I love to critique myself as hard as possible, and that's how you get better. And here, this was the last girl. Not bad. I think it was a little bit better than this one. Maybe the skin tone. Not sure. I have undecided still. Undecided. But that's basically it. What I had to go through outdoors. I'm showing you about half of the results. There was, again, like, I don't know, 13, 14 interviews outdoor within a several hour period. Very difficult, especially when the sun was bright. But we did it. So the takeaways, I would say the main thing is that when you're outdoors, you have to learn to control the sun. Main thing is that you cannot control the background. You cannot control, you're not going to diffuse the background. All you can do is expose for it correctly. So first of all, find a background that you can work with. Once you've done that, now work backwards and say, okay, that's going to be my background. Where can I sit them in this beautiful background that I've already found in my camera? You walk around with the camera, and look at the monitor and say, oh, that's a beautiful background out there. That's exposed. That's a nice exposure. Now, imagine somebody sitting there. Can you light him there? And hopefully you can figure out ways to do it. I knew I had a light that I could bring out. I knew I had the reflectors. So I knew I did not have direct light that I could bounce. So if you needed that, then you're going to have to look for a different background. All right, that is it in a nutshell. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope that's something that you could put to work, put to use. Don't forget, CS7 is around the corner. Let's get excited. We got some hot directors. Soon I'm going to start dropping some information about that and who it is. I got to keep it under wraps and keep it top secret in the meantime. But rest assured, you are going to be blown away. I'm telling you, even one of the guys that I got on, I couldn't believe I got him on. I could not believe it, but when we got him, I said this is going to be a hit. So it's coming soon. Stay tuned for that. Share this. Do whatever you want to do, but definitely leave comments and talk to me. I want to know, how's it going? How do you like these things? Or is there something that you learned, something that you didn't understand, something that you want to correct me on? We're all here to learn. So let's keep it active in the comments, and that's how we can all learn together. I'll see you on the next video.